Okay. Perikid Aleph, chapter 11, Mishna Vav, Mishna 6. Amra, a woman said, Kainim te'inim v'anovim elu, she'ini toyemes. She makes an eder, and she says, as a carbon, these figs and these grapes I am not going to taste. Okay? So in one eder, she put together these figs and these grapes. Okay. What did the husband do? Kiyam l'te'inim. He approved of the neder for the figs, and that's it. Meaning she said, I forbid these figs and these grapes. And he says, I approve of the figs. Didn't approve of the grapes. Kulai kayim. The entire neder has been approved, and there is no way for him now to cancel her neder regarding the grapes. Hey for the ta'anim. Now, that's the case of where he approved of it, right? He approved of some of it. She made a neder on the grapes and the figs, and he approved part of the neder. So we say he approved part of it, the whole thing is approved. Hey for the ta'anim. Now, let's say instead of approving the figs, he canceled the figs. He didn't say anything about the grapes. It will not be completely canceled until he actually goes and cancels even for the grapes. Now, at the same time, the canceling that was done for the figs, that stands. That works. It's just that unlike by kiyum, unlike by approving a neder, where an approval for part of the neder becomes an approval for the entire neder, which is based on the words of the Torah. So too, but on the contrary, but not so when it comes to canceling. By canceling part of the neder does not act as canceling the entire neder. However, the part that's canceled is canceled. Now, Amra, if let's say the woman said, Koinim te'enim she'eni toyemes, v'anavim she'eni toyemes. She says konim as a carbon, which is again her expression of being forbidden. I am not going to taste the figs. I'm not going to taste the grapes. Harei elu shnei nedarim. This constitutes two separate nedarim. They are not one neder, and therefore our discussion about a partial annulment, a partial approvement is relevant. It's not relevant here. Because once she says by both of them that I will not, even though she said carbon, she only said the word carbon, where she's saying it should be like a carbon, she only said that once. But since she said, I will not taste figs, I will not taste grapes, by doing that, she is making two separate nedarim, and therefore, what you do in one, for sure, isn't going to have any effect on the other. So according to what our Mishna is saying that a partial kiyum, a partial approval on a neder, on one neder, is an approval for the whole neder, while a partial canceling of one neder, a partial canceling of one neder, you cancel part of the neder, will not be a cancellation for the whole neder, but for that part of the neder, but the part that was canceled is going to be canceled. Now the Bartanura says, the elu divrei Yachav en halacha. Halacha kachachamim she'emrim makish hakama la'afara. Ma'afara ma'asha hefer, ma'asha hefer lo hefer. Okay, so to hakama, which means, what he's saying is that halachically, the halacha, this Mishnah is not the halacha. That rather, the same way by a hafara, a partial cancellation, is not going to cancel the whole neder. It only cancel the part that was canceled. When it comes to hakama, to approval, it works the same way. Hakama also, a partial approval, a partial approval of a neder is not going to be an approval on the entire neder, just be an approval for what you made, for what the approval was made for. Now, an interesting thing the Bartanura also brings in is the fact that if you remember, when it came to hatara, when it came to the chacham annulling the vow, right, we have the husband or the father hafara, that's canceling the vow. And then we have what a chacham can do, what a sage can do, what a beis din can do, which is hatara, which we call that in English annulling a vow. And we had a rule that hatara neder shuta miktsasi hutar kulai. In the situation where part of the neder is annulled, the other part of the neder is also annulled. We say that a person doesn't mean to make a partial neder. And basically, if you are uprooting by a hatara, you're uprooting the neder. So if you're uprooting the neder, meaning if you're saying it was never a neder to begin with, you're not going to say it only regarding part of the neder, and the other part of the neder, it does stand. But that's the difference between hafara and hatara. By hatara, if you're a neder that was partially annulled by a chacham, is going to be annulled completely. The whole thing falls off. When it comes, though, to hafara, when it comes to what the husband or the father can doing, which is canceling approving, it's not that way. A partial hafara or a partial akama will work partially. A hatara, once you're meaning they only work partial. They only work. If there was a partial cancellation or approval, it will only work on that part that those things were done regarding to. The other part remains. But if you're talking about a hatara by a chacham, that we say, if part of it was annulled by the chacham, the whole thing becomes annulled. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay.
How does this affect